Good afternoon, and welcome to today's Adweek webinar. We will be looking at how holistic marketing measurement drives business success, and it's really a way of helping you get more complete insights. And today's webinar is being sponsored by Equifax. I'm Stuart File, head of Adweek's Branded Content Studio, and I will be your host for today's webinar. Again, we've got a couple of great speakers today, and I think everyone here is going to enjoy this take on holistic marketing measurement. And our guest speaker today is Tina Moffat, Senior Analyst over at Forrester Research. If you've done anything in this area, again, you know the Forrester people, and you probably have run across Tina, who does work with B2C marketing professionals, but mostly she is really focused on sort of the prescriptive and predictive marketing analytics. She looks at measurement strategies, best-in-class marketing and customer metrics, customer journey analytics, the whole shebang of that marketing and marketing measurement area, and she's going to really have some interesting insights to share today. We are also very happy to be joined by Jeff Sporn, who's the CDO, the Chief Data Officer at Equifax, actually for data-driven marketing over at Equifax, and he guides really the digital vision and strategy for all data-driven marketing services at the company, overseeing the development and the proliferation of digital solutions, and that also includes integrating Equifax's marketing data into the digital ecosystem. So really, again, being used and optimized for a lot of display advertising targeting. So Jeff and Tina, I want to welcome you both, and Tina, let me pass this over to you to begin today's webinar.
Great. Thank you, Stuart. And thank you, everybody, for taking the time today to listen into our webinar. I'm really excited to present some key findings from a commissioned-based study that Equifax engaged with Forrester on how holistic measurement drives business success. So I'll share some findings and some thought leadership as well throughout the presentation. Just a little bit about Forrester. We work with business and technology leaders to develop customer-obsessed strategies. We do this through data-driven research, administering various surveys throughout the years on various consumer topics and business topics. And as an analyst, I write on specific topic areas, including marketing performance measurement and data management platforms as well. And we do these commission-based studies where Equifax engages with Forrester on a specific topic, and we research it and write about it. So on the agenda today, I'm going to cover two key things. First, I'm going to kick off and provide you with some trends on marketing performance measurement and consumer insights. And then I'm going to go deep dive into the thought leadership paper, give you some background and some key findings. So let's begin. I like to kick off a lot of my presentations around setting the stage of why measurement is important. And measurement's important because consumers are connected. They're on their phone searching for the latest deals, and these insights, whether it be from analyzing customer data or their behavior, it becomes imperative for marketers because they need to become smarter about measuring effectiveness and measuring what consumers are effectively doing across devices. And to support this even more, we tracked how consumers access content. And with this data, businesses can craft customized messages and strategies, determine the proper flighting for television advertising, and identify the right targets for customer acquisitions. But if you think about the way that we as consumers started to become more savvy about using devices, it wasn't always this way. In the pre-digital age, there was really, the objective was really broad reach, right? Think of television campaigns and radio ads. And the goal was to build awareness while filling the marketing funnel, right? While filling that journey with really good qualified customers. And as we moved into the digital age, because of the access of data, our measurement and our analytics became better. We knew what marketing and media was really effective, what message was resonating, what channels consumers wanted to reach in. But even now, that's kind of not enough. We need to take it to the next level. In the one-to-moment scenario, marketers must take personal personalization in a more contextual way. They must include how or consider the emotional state of the customer, different needs, each time they interact. So success requires the best of marketing combined, and that's specific to not only direct marketing, but brand marketing, all rolled into one and having the proper measures of success. Now, the old way of measuring, whether it would be last touch or pre versus post measurement, fall short of providing that. So we're starting to see more and more marketers in general because embrace more holistic measurement. So you're probably asking, well, why? Why holistic? It's because they need to embrace these moments. Competition now creeps in faster than before because consumers have choices. They're also distracted by the enormous amount of content and the chance that your competitor to prey on a brand's loyal or high-value customer. So it becomes really imperative for marketers to understand not only consumer behavior, but how effective marketing strategies are. And this sort of mindset of the current state of where consumers are and where marketers need to go really, I think, led into this idea from Equifax of exploring the notion of holistic marketing performance measurement as a way to really drive business growth. So let me jump into the thought leadership paper at this point and give you a bit of a background and key findings. So Equifax, data-driven marketing, commissioned Forrester Consulting to explore the state of marketing measurement. Forrester conducted an online survey of 300 marketers, data professionals, and analytic decision makers at U.S. enterprises to explore the topic. We found that though all firms are measuring effectiveness of marketing campaigns, a particular subset of marketers is much more mature than the majority of firms. And these mature leaders see exponential business benefits to their efforts. More specifically, we wanted to focus on a very particular hypothesis. Now, I'm not going to read this line by line, but essentially what we wanted to understand, what our hypothesis was, if firms are really focused on applying advanced unified measurement, more holistic measurement that takes the rigor of statistical analysis and looks and applies it to understanding campaign effectiveness all the way up to strategic channel effectiveness. They can place smarter investments that will ultimately drive more incremental growth and overall business growth. So let's kind of go into the key findings. So I'll start with the current state. So this was really interesting. Firms grasp at its importance of holistic measurement, but they're generally still early on the path to it. What we found more specifically was that marketing and business objectives of measurement and insights professionals are customer-centric. So firms have specific objectives to achieve that, through their marketing measurement, insights, and optimization. More than half the firms prioritize customer insights and improve targeting of campaigns because brands want to be sure they're hitting their customers with the right message across the right channel while managing their marketing investments. 2/3, or 66% of marketers say improved customer satisfaction is their main business objective for their measurement plans, making it the number one goal. So measurement is becoming an organizational-wide activity. Most important, the task of calculating marketing performance measurement is the responsibility of marketing and analytics teams. However, the use case of these insights is well distributed throughout the organization. So everybody from sales and business intelligence to customer experience find this data helpful. So again, a key finding, top marketing objectives really center around customer insights, and the top business objective is actually improving customer satisfaction. And what we also found was that marketing budgets are growing. Marketing measurement may still be a work in progress for a majority of firms, but it remains a high priority. Firms report a steady increase in budgets over the last 2 years and expect even higher budgets within the next 2 years. On average, by 2020, marketers expect that measurement will make up 10% of their overall marketing budgets, up from 5% just 2 years ago. And this steady state of willingness to invest in measurement underlines the importance of it and the need for it. This is also consistent with a Forrester forecast that we did as well in terms of forecasting out different products and services, marketing products and services as well. We additionally forecasted out that investments in analytics and data would increase year over year by 11%. Another key current state finding is that marketers cobble together insights. They do this through various data solutions and techniques. They leverage different types of marketing data to support their measurement efforts, inclusive of direct response data, digital media performance, and transaction and revenue data. They also use personal data about their consumers to segment. 66% of marketers report using consumer data. And similarly, measurement methodologies are all over the map. Respondents use everything from marketing mix modeling to advanced digital attribution to first and last touch attribution and test and control measurement. A unified measurement technique that combines statistically driven marketing measurement approaches is arguably the most mature approach to measurement, is used by less than half of the respondents. So marketers also tend to rely on basic data and analytic solutions for measurement, while leaning less heavily on advanced solutions as well. So some of the key current state findings that we dug up in this commission study. So let's go move on to challenges. Now, if you've been in the space of marketing analytics, general analytics or measurement, you know what the number one challenge is. It's always data. But we also found additional challenges in terms of that hinder marketers from advancing their measurement. So let's kind of take a look at those. So the first challenge that we found was that 2/3 of the respondents indicate challenges in measuring social media and paid search to offline sales. Approximately 2/3 say it's very difficult to measure these channels against offline sales. Other channels are proven difficult as well. At least half of the respondents say it's difficult to measure the impact of any channel's marketing tactics against offline sales. And again, this is due to the complexity of accessing and connecting data points. A second challenge is that unpredictable customer journeys wreak havoc on marketing performance measurement. Overall, managing the complexity of the journey is a top measurement challenge for firms. This is due to the fact that only about 36% of respondents indicate the complexity of it, and 30% are currently using any type of journey analytics tool to help with these approaches. And then a final challenge is the current measurement tools that that marketers are using are falling short. 48% of respondents say that their measurement tools cannot even be pushed into buying systems, so the recommendations from those tools can't be pushed to help make changes. So those are some of the top 3 challenges, and consistent with what we see here at Forrester, the underlying challenge being data as well. But these challenges are something that's a variant of data access, but still very important for marketers to overcome these challenges. So let's get into the meat of what we found within the report of marketing performance measurement. What we found was that marketing measurement leaders integrate measurement models and optimize insights into action. A whopping 73% of respondents hope to have optimized their marketing measurement by 2020. And while this number is very optimistic, it does indicate the extent to which firms are planning to prioritize these initiatives. So it validates the investment that this report provided, which was a 10% investment in marketing measurement in the future. So let's dig into this a little bit as well. I want to provide you with an understanding of how we came up with these groups of leaders and laggards. What we did, we defined maturity based on 3 areas of competency. These high mature firms here are leaders, and they have measurement approaches that are accurate. So leaders are very accurate in their measurement across 7 different marketing touch points, both digital and online, meaning that they feel highly confident that of the level of accuracy with at least 7 touch points, both digital and offline. Second is that a leader utilizes a unified measurement technique that links statistically driven marketing measurement approaches together. That could mean that they're using a mixed model or an attribution model, linking it together, or even different varying techniques like several uplift models attached with their media mix models. And then finally, they're actionable. Leaders use marketing measurement insights to make both tactical and strategic marketing decisions. These leaders represent just 17% of the total sample, distinguishing them as an elite group that differs from the laggards, which struggle to unified measurement, leading to spotty accuracy and incomplete insights. And the rest of the sample, which is about 66%, will generally straddle the line between leaders and laggards. So in summary, 17% of our sample are leaders, 17 are laggards, and 66 are generally straddling the line. So let's dive deep in terms of making sure we can highlight what makes a leader a leader. Leaders are focused on the future. They've already mastered tasks like planning the top 2 marketing objectives, hope to attain through their measurement insights and optimization of targeting campaigns, and they're better at contextualized marketing at 54%. Laggards, on the other hand, are stuck in the early stages, focused on improved marketing planning, customer targeting, and forecasting. And the same is reflected in stated business objectives as well. The leaders aim to achieve things like lead generation, improved employee efficiency, and increased sales revenue through their insights. So again, some key interesting findings around how leaders are focused in their objectives versus the laggards. Another key findings is that leaders leverage data more effectively. Leaders use far more data than their lagging counterparts. Of the 14 different types of data we asked them about in the survey, leaders use of data substantially outpaces the laggards' use for 13. More importantly, leaders are better able to integrate their data. 87% of leaders have fully integrated their digital channels, and 63% have integrated their digital channels with offline channels, compared to just 64 and 48 of laggards, respectively. So again, leaders are more creative in terms of using their data. They're more advanced in terms of using their data. So let's go into a second part of analysis, which is quite frankly one of my favorite analyses that I've done through a TLP. What we found that leaders are experiencing remarkable business outcomes on investment, as seen through increased revenue, improved lead generation, and marketing cost savings. So this is a really interesting takeaway here, and unfortunately, I'm not seeing the sidebar of content. There we go. Thank you. Uh, what we found was that leaders see an increase in revenue. So leaders see an overall 73.4 million in additional revenue from their measurement efforts, which is about 3% increase in revenue overall. Second is that they see a better quality lead generation. They see an increase of 2.62% in lead generation. And although these leaders only spend about 8.37 million more than laggards on measurement, they earn 28.9 million more for their efforts. But these benefits are not limited to financial benefits or the bottom line. And they also see higher cost savings. They see an average decrease of 2.18 million in the marketing spend. They earn approximately $4 for every dollar they spend on marketing measurement. And like I said, these benefits are not limited to cost or revenue generation. They also excel at customer experience. Despite the fact that laggards prioritize CX improvement more often than leaders outpace laggards in this area. While leaders start with a higher net promoter score than laggards, they still see a larger gain in those scores due to their marketing measurement. Specifically, leaders see an average increase of 7.34% on their NPS. So again, not just seeing financial benefits, but also customer experience and customer-based improvements as well. So finally, recommendations. Marketing measurement is a foundation for a data-driven marketing strategy and delivering a consistent experience across these touch points. So businesses that wish to emulate these results should follow the following important recommendations. First, have clear measurement objectives. Marketers should work with stakeholders across marketing, sales, and analytics, and finance to document key business and marketing objectives. From there, marketers can develop core key performance indicators and metrics that can measure how specific campaigns, tactics, and channels move the needle on their business and marketing objectives. Now, if you do this, you'll cut down on resource time, identifiable data points and needed for measurement, and have a clear measure of success. Second recommendation is to identify the appropriate measurement models that can meet your objectives. Far too often, and we see this at Forrester too, marketers request measurement models that cannot answer their core marketing question. Having the clear and detailed question, whether it be marketing specific, media insights, or business objectives that you want to solve for will help your analytics team or your partner, your measurement partner, determine the right approach. For example, if you want to understand the halo effects of television on specific search terms, a unified measurement model may be the best approach. Take an honest assessment of your firm's measurement maturity if you want to kind of move towards a unified measurement approach, which is our third recommendation. Far too often, I see at Forrester marketers say, "Well, we're pretty advanced in measuring." Digital media, or we have a good sense of how our television is performing. But once we unpack what they're actually doing, it's not as advanced as they see, as it may seem. So having an assessment of what your strategy is, if your organization can support it, if you have the right technology and data, and if you're aligned with metrics and KPIs across different stakeholders, will give you a sense of where you currently are and where you need to go, and it'll help you prioritize all of those projects you need to do to get there. Build a data governance standard. I think this is something that we don't see a lot of for marketers. This means that marketing needs to really focus on things like what's the data collection process of collecting like viewable data or television performance data? And is there any gaps in the data? What are the standards in terms of tracking campaigns and the campaign codes around that? And then finally, select a measurement partner that can help you deliver against your objectives. Marketers should be on the lookout for specific core capabilities, including sophistication of measurement approaches, platform capability, and very importantly, supporting services. Specifically, look for platforms that have forward-looking marketing planning capabilities and provide near real-time results. I don't want to say real time because it doesn't exist, but near real time and the right time in terms of when you need updated results. Marketers should consider a partner that can manage the model building process, provide extra hands for data wrangling and assist in operating the platform, provide any training and change management guidance, because a lot of these insights may change the way you think about organizing and supporting marketing analytics and marketing performance measurement. So again, some really great findings from this Equifax-sponsored Equifax Commission TLP thought leadership paper. So if you have a chance, get your hands on it and read through the details. At this point in time, I'm going to pass it to Jeff, where he's going to take you through some additional thoughts on holistic marketing measurement. Jeff?
Thank you so much, Tina. I've read the paper numerous times and heard you, although every time I hear it, I get some new thoughts that come out of this very rich paper. So I'm going to echo that last sentiment. If folks have the opportunity, I'd urge you to read through the whole thought leadership paper, because I think it was very well done and matched a lot of the insights that that I see as I talk to various clients out in the field. In fact, as disappointing as it is in terms of the challenges that I saw in the paper, I actually, in my one-on-ones with clients, they're even a little further behind. So that's interesting. I just wanted to start with this little cartoon, which really is reflective of what we see all too often. So in this case, someone is exposed to every proper marketing, but the readout is simply from that last click. And I know Tina referenced that the old style of measurement being last click. I see far too many of our partners out there still relying on last click as the primary to give attribution or credit to the marketing channel, which is sort of fascinating to me in this day and age. And there's actually an interesting paradox, I think, with regard to how we treat digital versus actually how advanced we were in marketing on something like direct mail. But very timely, digital is where the action is. 42 billion on display ads in 2019. And so much of it, from my perspective, has been judged, unfortunately, like TV has been judged, that there's not clear lines drawn between exposure to marketing and the actual action to purchase. And part of that is because there's not always a call to action. So how do you start to measure the different marketing touches, which is actually what marketing multi-touch attribution is all about. In order to justify all of the spend, we have to validate that it's actually making a difference. And that's what people are beginning to doing, which I think is so critical. Not unlike something that Tina showed, we have our own version of how people walk through the purchase process or the investment process. And in our interactions with clients, there are some really common things that pop up that, again, were found in the thought leadership paper. The first is identifying the path. And so we actually work with folks to literally trace their path from initiation or awareness all the way to action or to no action, because that's actually very important too, right? We want to understand where things went off the path so that they chose not to purchase or not to open an account versus those that open an account. Wasted ad spend. It's always difficult to hear that word of wasted ad spend. And the notion is obviously no one of the decision makers in marketing is out there saying, I'm going to just throw money away. There is a belief that their spend is going to drive something that's going to lead to a sale. It's just difficult to measure what is wasted and what is useful, and how it can be different by different groups of people, which I'll touch on in a couple minutes. And then added to all that is, how do you use what you spend, where you spend, to have a good forecast? So you can see how marketers, which maybe, even though I've been in marketing analytics for a while, want to lean more and more on analytics and not marketing by the gut, which I think was all too common in the past. This is another illustration of what I have seen when I talk to various institutions. Everyone is doing their best to market, but they're doing it in a silo. And that means the email man or woman marketing feels like they are doing their best strategy for email, but they are not coordinating with social media. They're not coordinating with their mobile or their display, which means you are getting potentially disparate messages, but certainly not a coordinated effort to drive to conversion. This is really slow to change. One of the biggest challenges in my mind is that organizational siloization. So you almost have to get to the chief marketing officer before you can get to one person who has a view of all of the marketing activity. And that's why we are so focused on that holistic marketing, specifically to see now the smiling consumer, yay, because, and this consumer is happy because they're being marketed perfectly. Boy, I wish that were the case. But it means that not only are you getting the same sort of message, you're actually building on that message, so they're seeing consistency in their marketing, and it's being organized in what I think of as a perfect recipe. So they are driving all towards conversion in the right way that's just right for that person. Do I see this? Far too rarely. I see it more in newer companies or smaller companies. And I guess that makes complete sense, right? It is hard to change an organizational structure in large institutions to act this way. But I do think that it is imperative. And I also think that it was easier in a world of telemarketing and direct mail, where everything was down to that person, that individual by name. And it just seems more intimidating in the digital world, where instead of talking about people, there's a tendency to talk about cookies or mobile ad ideas. This is another example of the flow, getting actually a little more detailed in the way things can occur. And part of that is the loop never ends. So there's a tendency to think of, we start them going, that initial consideration, and there we got them to purchase. But actually, it's a never-ending loop in that you either want them to make another purchase or want to retain them as an account. So you're constantly going to want to feed them along the right path. And in this case, the path might be starting with social, then some display or mobile, on to moment of purchase. So what does it yield? And this is I'm pulling back from some of the points that Tina made. $73.4 million in additional revenue, or 2.2 decrease in advertising spend. So the way to put these in context, obviously, you can. It all depends on your current advertising spend, and also the use of measurement can be beneficial in multiple ways. Generally, the marketers that I work with aren't going to say, I found some extra money, I'd like to return it to the company as a cost savings. But often you're asked for a cost savings, and the best way to do it is to reduce areas that are least effective. Most marketers say, I want to take that 20 million that is not being effective and move it somewhere else. And that's what drives the additional revenue. So when we talk to folks about measurement, they really can have two goals, and that also aligns with what Tina said about determining their goals. They might want to make their marketing investment work harder for them, but they also might be in a budget cutting scenario. And in that case, it's hard to swallow spending some on measurement, but it is well worth the investment. So a little money on measurement can go a lot longer towards helping things, because you can save much more than that in reducing your marketing costs. I want to talk a little bit about how measurement became so important to us. It all started while I was playing chess. No, not really. We had been looking at different marketing measurement companies for a while to partner with, because at DDM Equifax, we have some premium data that in the digital world is not always recognized as, candidly, as strong as it is. It's long been recognized that in the direct mail world, because it is unique or near unique, depending on the different data sets we're talking about. But in the digital world, a world without measurement, where people are looking at reach and names and clicks, it wasn't always popping to the fore. So we very selfishly were interested in measurement to demonstrate the power of our data when used for targeting. We actually found the answer for a partner in measurement in our own backyard, or more accurately in Australia, when we acquired a company called Datalicious as part of an acquisition of the Australian credit bureau, Veda. So Datalicious was actually a consulting firm that helped with multi-touch attribution and then developed their own multi-touch attribution solution, because they were seeing clients frustrated with the solutions they were helping with. They absolutely seemed cutting edge to us, so we said, if it works in Australia, let's give it a go in the U.S. And I'm going to talk about one of those examples in a minute. This is, I know folks will think this is me leaning over others. Sort of looks like me if I got a little taller and thinner. But basically, there's a lot to getting into measurement. And I would say that some of the biggest challenges are not the cost of a measurement solution, but organizing your data, primarily all your marketing touches and the resulting sales, into feeds that can all be analyzed and absorbed. There's a cost to that. I think it's well worth it, but that is the biggest challenge by far in terms of getting organized for good measurement solutions. And then there are all the insights that come out of it. And I think Tina touched on that as well. You don't want to come up with insights that are not actionable. And so that's always where you want to start, is what is your ability to take action? I have seen measurement analyses that are delivered, thankfully not in our case, but in others, where they love the results, but there's nothing to do about them because of certain circumstances they're in. So always be mindful about what you're going to make out of the insights. As I was referring to just a minute ago, in Australia, they worked with Telstra, which is one of the largest telecoms. I think the largest in Australia, actually. So for those of you that have a North America or U.S. point of view, I guess we could think of AT&T and Verizon and all of the myriad ways that those companies market to the consumer. And that is, again, touching on that biggest challenge, the huge amount of marketing channels. And that's something I want to touch on for a second here. There is a tendency to think of this measurement that is catching fire right now as digital measurement. It is not. It is holistic, which means you want every channel. You want direct mail. You want telemarketing, if folks are still doing that. Even billboards and conventional TV can be measured, sometimes having to be modeled, but you want it all. This is not about measuring the new thing. It's about measuring all touches. So with good work with Telstra, it translated into a 65% increase in sales and an 87% increase in revenue. We're working right now with an insurance client. We're about midway through, but already we're seeing some really powerful insights. The client who has not done significant marketing measurement before, they're seeing already insights that they can act on. So as usual, because this almost always happens, there's an overemphasis on search because search is the last thing people will do before they take an action. But it's all the things that occurred before search. In this case, underdeveloped display, and probably most valuable was under-leveraged social and email campaigns that are very profitable, and so they're able to take action on those, which is actually driving additional sales and revenue. Our solution, just to touch on it, is called OptimaHub. So obviously what we've done is taken into account all that the market is interested in and delivered a solution that is able to encompass all those marketing touch points. It uses a special HMM methodology that sees how consumers move through their customer journey, both forward and backwards, to create the perfect recipe for moving along. And a critical component here comes into data and segmentation. So not all groups of people respond to the same things. So I do think early stages of solutions like this looked at the consumer as a giant group, and now we're able to break consumers into distinct groups and have a different recipe for marketing based on the insights we get out of that measurement. Again, touching on something earlier, the so-called wasted ad spend could be either used to reinvest in more effective marketing channels or to save money. And I think that actually finishes it up. So I think, Stuart, I'm going to turn it back to you for questions. I know I went a little fast near the end, but I think we hit all the high points.
Smoother than you think there, Jeff. Listen, thank you, and thank you, Tina, for really sharing these insights on holistic marketing measurement. A lot of questions coming in, and we're going to get to them in just a second. Before we get to that, first off, if you do have a question, just use the question tool on the left side of the screen. We're going to get to as many as we can in the next 10 minutes or so. I want to just provide a couple of quick reminders. We've had this discussion about this thought leader report, thought leader paper that Equifax commissioned and that Forrester produced. And if you want a copy of that, here's the good news, and it's been mentioned. It is available right now in Event Resources. So go into the Event Resources tab at the top of the screen. You'll be able to download the PDF of the paper right now if you're looking for that. Also, in Event Resources, you can download a PDF of today's slide presentation. So grab them both. Take a look at your leisure. Share them with your colleagues. Please just spread the word and grab it right now. Also, we did get a few people asking, is the webinar being recorded? And the answer, of course, is a resounding yes. It is being recorded right now and will be available on demand. Check your email about 3:30, 4 o'clock Eastern time today. We're going to send you a link over to that on-demand version. So let's move on into some of the questions that we've got here in the next few minutes. And Jeff, let's start with something for you here, and that is, we talk a lot about integrating, sort of the different siloed areas, and you were talking about really that full holistic measurement, right? Of not incorporating not just digital, but really going far beyond. So as you're sort of moving into that integrated approach, what would really sort of be the best way to sort of get those different silos? Break down the walls of those silos. Let me mix my metaphors here. Break all those silos down and get that sort of coherent view of the customer journey. So, what would sort of be, the key first steps that you want to do in that area?
Right. So the hardest part and the most challenging conceptually is the fact that most people feel that they do not know who they're serving a display ad to, just like they don't know who they're serving a TV ad to. And so there are partners out there we actually use multiple partners in our solution to do that identification. It's not going to deliver the fact that Stuart got 3 display ads followed by a telemarketing call because we don't want to work with that PII. In fact, these days, nobody wants to work with that PII directly back to the client. But that identification and linking across all the channels is key. And most companies, and we run into companies that think quite highly of themselves, really have to depend on the experts to do that tying together. And that's the first step. Now, some companies feel if I can get someone to tie it all together, I can do all the rest of the analysis myself. They're welcome to try, but I would urge folks to go with some experts with a track record to tie it together and do an analysis once they've tied all those identities together to one identity or one key.
Okay. Tina, let me sort of throw a natural follow-up on that one, which somebody had asked here, and that is, we're talking about holistic measurement and certainly identity and knowing who you're going after, as Jeff was just mentioning, is crucial to that. We of course now see, let's just call it shifting in cookie usage, right? Not only declines naturally, but also things that are, I'm sure, eventually going to have an impact in terms of data regulation. So with that sort of shift going on in cookie approaches, what are you seeing as sort of crucial for marketers to have as they're sort of building out that identity?
I think a big piece of it is building on first-party data and working with measurement partners, onboarding partners, and identity partners to ensure third-party data is ethically sourced, and looking for alternatives of not using third-party cookies. I'm a firm believer that I don't think third-party cookies are going to go away tomorrow, but the writing is on the wall. We see a lot of closed ecosystems like Apple, with ITP preventing third-party cookie tracking and limiting first-party cookie tracking. Google just made some announcements with limited usage of tracking and of their data. Firefox has ETP, which limits third-party cookie tracking. So as a marketer, you need to be proactive and start asking tough questions of how you can link identities together using first-party data along with second and third-party data sources to that are ethically sourced, that have, when I say ethically sourced, I really mean that they have kind of consent management in terms of usage, and with first party and other party data sources, and linking and the approach for linking it together. Even if you may not understand the details of how it's linked together, start asking those basic questions. It's usually the basic questions that are really tough to answer, like how do you link first and third party data together? What's the method of doing it? And why do you do it that way? Is there alternatives to do it that way? I think it's really important for marketers to start asking those questions so they understand how things work, how data linkage works.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I was about to just, Jeff, you have anything to add? Obviously, it's a big topic these days.
Yeah, I completely agree with where Tina was going. And I would also say it is challenging for individual companies to take on the third-party world and especially ingest third-party PII. So I do think that there are companies, we're one, but there are others, who not only are able to handle that, so they're using keys, and so the clients don't have to create a whole new spate of worries, but also, not surprisingly, we and others have built some relationships, even with those walled gardens like Facebook, so that we're able to do some of the connective tissue while keeping with their policies and being mindful of what consumers' concerns are now. So that's just my 2 cents is marketers have to be aware, but they shouldn't feel like they have to take it on themselves all internally when they're good, reputable companies that can do that part, that sort of sticky part, the part that's under regulatory concern for them.
Got it. Just a quick reminder here again, we've got time for maybe one more question, but please, we're going to ask everyone, if you do have a question for our speakers, just use the question tool on the left side of your screen. If we don't get to your question, I always do make sure that it gets forwarded over to our sponsor, so there's the opportunity for someone to engage with you offline. Jeff, when we talk a little bit about things like, segment analysis and doing some of that, we always sort of see that interaction of segment analysis and attribution. Can you give us a sense of maybe how someone can bring those two things together?
Yeah, so I think that it's always valuable when you are able to connect everyone together and say, hey, we should be spending more on display and less on direct mail. And that's nice. And don't get me wrong, you want to take any step, even a small step, to go forward. But even just those of us that are on this bridge, Tina, you, and I probably react differently to different marketing touches. And that's why we want to use good, solid, usually offline data to start creating groups on their responsiveness to the marketing touches. So I think that many of the attribution companies are beginning to do that because we are data experts. That was foremost in our minds, to use some of our great economic and financial data to help create those segments so they're clear different lines of action. But also, a lot of companies have their own segmentation. There's no reason not to bring that into it as you analyze the results of your multi-touch attribution. And that's really sort of one of the things we say is, if you feed it into the machine, we can do the analysis. So, and I think any good attribution company should be able to be up for that challenge. So creating segments out of the attribution helps take action afterwards. So you, rather than being most effective for the whole, you're most effective almost in 5 different groups, which will maximize the revenue.
Great. Well, Jeff and Tina, I want to thank you both again for sharing your insights today. For those in the audience, I've just put up some contact info here on the screen, so you can see if you do need to reach out or wish to reach out to our speakers. And as well, you'll see the link here for the data-driven marketing from Equifax and a link over there.